Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at the Capsule Corp Endeavour mod, which is being made by forum user Gabu. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a wide variety of Kerbalized parts to build concept missions from Lockheed Martin and NASA, such as the Mars Base Camp, Orion capsule, and more. And it is actually a pretty impressively sized pack of parts. So let's jump right on into the vehicle assembly building and have a look at what all it does add in. So let's grab ourselves a Mark 1-2 for size comparison, and then as per usual turn on our janitor's closet mod filter, and we'll start up here with, of course, the command pods, starting with the Orion capsule. There we go, we'll just put that right on there, a little bit bigger than the Mark 1-2, but of course this one will hold 5 crew members, has of course a built-in ablator, it does have a data transmitter, it is a lifting surface with RCS reaction wheel, the typical crew report, electric charge of 450, and monopropellant of 50, and overall is a pretty impressively made little piece of work here, with a lot of good detail put into it, and does have an interior, but not the nicest one as of yet. The interiors are kind of in the early stages at the moment, and they, I believe, will be, improved in the future. But still, always nice to have any form of interior, and overall, a very cool part. Now, the next thing we have is the Altair Lander pod, which, if we pop that baby on there, we have seen before in another mod, which actually I believe just had it, and this does of course hold 2 personnel, has rather a data transmitter, RCS, reaction wheel, crew report, 300 electric charge, and 200 monopropellant, and of course has those built-in RCS engines there, which is always useful, and overall a very lovely little lander with of course command pods on the top and bottom, the top in this mod for a docking port, and of course on the bottom for an engine. Now the next thing we have is the MMSEV pod, which is of course a NASA designed rover, which is awesome looking. Oh, look at that beautiful thing. Now apparently the modder did use a model from NASA, I believe is what I read, but still good work bringing it into the game here, and it is gorgeous with some fun detailing, such as the back door that does open up, has a nice little suit in there ready to go, and overall is a pretty cool little rover, which holds 2 personnel, does have solar panels built in, has a reaction wheel, crew report, and 800 electric charge, and does have of course attachment points on the bottom, 2 on the sides for docking ports, and 1 on top right there, which is for a special antenna that goes with it. And the final thing we have is the EMU, Extra Vehicular Mobility Unit, which is basically just a giant jetpack for your Kerbals to use, and it's awesome. So we'll pop that right onto, if I could rotate things correctly. Okay, there we go, good enough. Perfect! It's sideways, but it'll work! And yes, it is just basically a small little personal ship for your Kerbals, which go right into the command seat there, and this does have built-in RCS, reaction wheel, electric charge of 50, and monopropellant of 20. So a nice little extra for your Kerbals, and a great attachment to any of your space stations. Now next, let's actually lose all of these. We're in the fuel tank category, and the first is the Altair Descent fuel tank, the big boy, which if we pop right onto there, it does of course hold monopropellant at 600, as all the Altair engines use monopropellant as their fuel. And 2 things I actually want to point out on this is that it does actually require you to use some in-game parts with this, some of the basic vanilla parts such as the landing legs. They're there aren't custom designed landing legs for it. You're meant to use, oh god, I always forget the name of it. What is the name of that leg? The LT-05 micro leg fits onto it very nicely, as you can see there. And then also inside, use some sort of just any standard decoupler to actually decouple the Altair from the lander there. Works quite nicely. Now the next one we have here, if I close that, is the Orion service module, of course going with the Orion capsule, and it will give you, of course, a nice little extra bit with a decoupler, RCS engines built in, liquid fuel at 360, monopropellant at 200, and oxidizer at 440. Always good to have that little extra bit of fuel. And then the last thing we have in here, oh boy, is a big one, the SLS main body tank with 16,200 liquid fuel and 19,800 oxidizer. And this, oh boy, it's a big one. In fact, we're gonna have to zoom out and then go up, because of course this thing is big. It is of course the launch system for the Orion capsule, and there we go. We have 4 attachment points down at the bottom for engines, and then of course the attachment point up at the top to continue your rocket build upward. And it is a glorious and gigantic fuel tank for you to use. Very fun indeed. Let's pop that off, zoom back in, and head to the engines category, where we have a couple here. And the first one is the CCCGB-120 liquid fuel oxygen engine, which does have a maximum thrust of 160 kilonewtons and has a 4-degree vectoring range and a max ISP in vacuum of 525, and is a nicely made little engine. I do like the little orange detailing bits right there. Very good. The next engine we have is the CCCGB-33 monopropellant one. This is of course the one that goes with the Altair Lander. Pop that on there, and it has a maximum of 55 kilonewtons of thrust, again with 525 ISP in vacuum, and once more a vectoring range of 4 degrees, and a good little monopropellant engine. Very effective in the Martian atmosphere. I did land with 4 of these on the bottom of the Altair Lander. I actually forgot to mention that on this bit, there are 4 attachment points at the bottom for those small engines. So there you go, almost forgot that. And then the next engine we have here is a big one. This is one of 2 different engines that go along with the Orion capsule, if we actually pop that baby off and zoom out. So just back after the service module, you would attach this, which would be a very large liquid fuel oxygen engine that does have a built-in decoupler, maximum thrust of 650 kilonewtons, 825 max of ISP in vacuum, vectoring range of 4 degrees, liquid fuel at 528, monopropellant of 80, and oxidizer of 645. And overall, a very, very nice addition. We also have an alternate one for you to use. This one here, which looks a little bit better when you have the service module attached with all the cool little metal strut bits there. And of course, again, decoupler. This one with less thrust at 410 kilonewtons, ISP of 825, still the 4-degree vectoring range, liquid fuel 480, monopropellant of 100, and oxidizer of 586. What's fun on this one, though, is you can extend the engine there, which is quite cool. I do enjoy that. And the next part, of course, is another one to go with the Orion capsule. This is the escape module for it, which of course just pops right on top of the Orion module, and, well, we'll try and save you if things are going to hell. And of course, it is a solid fuel engine with 150 solid fuel, max thrust of 200 kilonewtons, ISP of 154 max. Very useful. And then finally, we have the SLS main boosters to go along with that gigantic tank. We also have gigantic, oh boy, zoom out again, gigantic freaking solid rocket boosters. Look at that, that's just wonderful. Which do have a max thrust of 1800 kilonewtons in vacuum, 320 ISP, gimbling of 4 degrees, and 6600 solid fuel. Very, very useful, very big, and that is a good thing. And the command, we have extra Altair Lander RCS ports for you to use. Let's zoom back in on that. There we go, just a handy little RCS port, not too dissimilar from the standard, but there you go. And structural, we do have the MBC MESM, which is an extended service module for your space stations, which is quite nice there, and it just has some nice docking ports. 4 in total, 2 on either side there and 2 on either side there, and does hold 50 electric charge and 75 monopropellant. We then have the MMSEV rover base, and this is meant for you to actually put the wheels onto for your rover, and it also does hold 2,200 electric charge and is very useful. And of course, this thing just sits right on top of it. There you go. Now next is in coupling. We have a couple of docking ports here, the CC docking port extensible, which there we are, a just lovely little extendable docking port, very nice, with a light built in right there, always good. We then also have the MBC docking ports, which if we just pop right on there, you can see it's just a much larger docking port. We then have the small version of the MBC docking port, which is even smaller than that one there. Then I think one of my favorite parts is the MBC single T-Link, which is fun. Like with that, boy, I'm already forgetting the name now, the Mission Extension Service Module. This does have multiple attachment points, one on either side and then one on the 2 sides here for you to use to extend your stations. But what's really fun about it is if we right-click and open the door, there we are. It's actually fully internal with a nice little hallway for your Kerbals to go through. And I really like that for some reason. Well, it's not for some reason. I just like internals. It's cool. And so there we go. We then also have the Orion cover to sort of cover the exterior of the, oh my god, I'm forgetting the name again, Orion service module. There we go, to protect all of its delicate bits, especially the solar panels on the side, which we'll get to in a second. We have nothing in aerodynamics. In ground, we do have a wheel for the MMSEV, but it's, I mean, it's just a copy of the sort of standard in-game wheel, so nothing too much there. Now we have nothing in thermal. Electrical, we do have 2 different MBC solar panels, the 2.0, which is, as you can see here, nice and large, and that is meant to go onto the station, a part that we'll get to here in a moment, and then another solar panel here, smaller, and meant for the Orion capsule service module. There we are. In communication, we have the MMSE Communotron, there I can talk, which of course is meant to go onto the rover. As you can see, it has a attachment point for us to use there. If I could actually attach it correctly, it's not liking Alt today. It should actually attach that way. But yes, it's just a little boom with some communication equipment and what look like cameras. Very fun little toy. And then in science, we have the Mars Base Camp Science Container, which is basically, oh god, just a gigantic thing. As you can see here, it is quite cool. It is just a very, very large capsule here that holds 6 Kerbals entirely, has a docking node built in. It is, of course, a science module, so it can do all the same science experiments, or rather the, well, it's basically a copy of the, oh my god, why am I forgetting names of things today? There we go, a copy of the Science Mobile Processing Lab. There we go. Oh my brain today is just all over the place. And of course, it does also come built in with a data transmitter, reaction wheel, electric charge at 2,500, liquid fuel of 2,200, monopropellant of 1,350, and oxidizer of 2,680. And what's really fun on this thing, besides, of course, we have attachment points down at the bottom and attachment points up at the top. If we actually do attach it there and kind of open up here again, we can open it up to a little hallway, and there is the hatch where you actually get your crew out of. So this combined with this single T-Link actually gives you a pretty cool little tunnel for your Kerbals to go through, and I enjoy that. And finally, in utility, we have the Orion parachute, which is just, you know, a nice parachute for you to use with the Orion capsule. And so yes, that is all the parts, quite a few things. I tried to go through them as quick as I could, but overall, very, very fun things that let you build a variety of interesting missions. So let's actually go and take a look at some of these. Now already, I do have on the launch pad prepared to go a fully built SLS, which I accidentally named Mars Base Camp, and saved over my Mars Base Camp save file or craft file rather, that I was creating. Oh well, what are you gonna do? So there we are, we have the full SLS rocket with its main body, 4 engines at the bottom, the 2 solid rocket boosters at the side, which I of course did limit the fuel of, so we can just take a quick look at this and then move on to the other parts. We then of course have the Orion service module up here being protected by those bits, which I can't seem to click on now. The just nice little Orion panels there to keep it protected in flight, and then of course the Orion capsule itself being protected by the escape module. Now as for the interior, I did say it is kind of bare bones at the moment, but here it is with the Orion capsule. Hopefully we do see a much nicer version in the future, but for now, you know what, it's serviceable, and normally you actually can see out these windows. We just have that escape module attached at the moment, and yes, we have 4 seats in here right now, or wait, hold on, 5, never mind, I forgot about this guy down here. Perfect, there we go. And let's just take a quick little launch of this thing. So throttle up and fire the engines in 3, 2, 1, blast off. There we are. Now with these solid rocket boosters at full fuel, this thing is actually quite impressive. Very easy to get this baby into orbit without much fuss. Now, of course, with just the little tiny bit of fuel that's now going to expend, there we go. We can just drop those. Now, this decoupler up here that we have, which is the Orion pedal adapter, which I'm suddenly remembering I did not show you in the VAB, opens up, as you can see here, for you then to decouple. And then, of course, we have this engine, which I need to activate quickly before we die. There we are. Oh, that's going to explode the launch pad. But there we go. So we do have that engine. We can then, of course, launch off those bits. And we may actually need to activate this to save us. Oh, boy. Land. Oh, we're going to die. Oh, no. We actually did not die. Ha! The escape module was just enough extra thrust that we didn't explode. Perfect. There we go. But what the heck, let's decouple that, and bam, there is our Orion capsule. All ready to go off and, well, not really make it anywhere with this sad flight of the damned. But okay, so let's actually head to the tracking station, as that was just a quick show-off of the SLS. Let us go and have a gander at the things, though, we've got on Mars. So let's go look at the MMSEV first and go and fly that. A very nice rover I am really enjoying my time with, because not only does it look cool, but, I mean, it's quite functional. And sadly, this one does not have an interior, but I mean, since we can open up the back of this thing and, you know, get Kerbals out quite easily, I like it, so, you know, it's cool. Plus, with the built-in solar panels, it's just fun. And of course, we do have built-in lighting for it, which is always nice. And being a rover, we can, oh boy, oh, my things have changed. It was driving normally earlier, but apparently now that I've reloaded my save file, my controls are reversed. Well, that's interesting. Oh, well, what are you going to do? But there we are, a rover that we can just sort of drive around to wherever we need. And, yeah, perhaps a bit oversized for 2 Kerbals, but it is quite cool. And, of course, we do also have the antenna there that we can extend up for communication, and it just looks nice. There we go. We'll stop that, though, and head to the Altair Lander, which does have an internal view. Again, kind of bare bones and basic, but, I mean, this thing kind of is a tin can of a lander, kind of literally. So, I mean, I'm okay with that. But we have 2 seating positions, this one here for the pilot, and this one for this guy kind of just looking at nothingness. There we go. And of course, the lander itself, the engines are quite useful. They actually do have a lot of power for actually bringing this thing down. Now, overall, the Altair Lander is actually quite light, so it really doesn't need a huge amount of thrust. But I landed this thing with it only, you know, at a minimal amount of thrust around about that point there, and it worked just fine. And of course does also have built-in RCS engines, and what the heck, let's take off a little bit there. That's just a little bit of throttle and we're already on our way. But of course that was meant to be the lander stage. We can then decouple and throttle up this thing to actually get back into space, and with losing the load, we can actually do that pretty darn easily with what fuel we do have left in there, and there goes the rest. Oh well. But yes, a very fun little piece. So back to the tracking station, and we will finish off by looking at, I'm gonna say, the Mars base camp, but I did not construct the thing fully as it is in the pictures. We basically only have about half of it, as there's basically supposed to be this entire thing on the other side. But yes, we do have our Orion capsule over here docked in with the Mars Base Camp Science Unit. We have the Orion solar panels there providing energy, plus the lab's energy being produced there. We have our lovely little T-Link, which if we actually turn on all the lights, there we go, we can open up these doors, and there we go, we have our tunnel. And then if we go to the science lab too, and open its doors, there we go, an even more extended tunnel, though a little bit dark with where it's facing. Now we do have some lights in here, but they aren't exactly the brightest. And so, yeah, let's actually get out a Kerbal from there. Let's get out Sherbert. He seems like a good candidate, and of course he is in the tunnel. And there we go, let's just let him kind of get himself sorted there and go forward. There we go. Perfect. And just exit out upside down, apparently. And there you go, outside of the tunnel, to which we can now actually go over here and get in to one of these emus. So let's stop ourselves there and board. Perfect. Now, of course, we are now, since we are coupled to the station, controlling it from here, but we can always just go and... oh, no, gotta click on the right thing. Decouple the node. Perfect. And just go to our little friend there. Sherbert controlling his own little emu. Let's turn on the SAS there, and nope, docking mode would probably be best to use. There we go. Alright, and we now have a wonderful little emu thing that I'm kind of bouncing around and not doing a great job flying, but hey, it's really shouldn't be too surprising to any of you if you've watched my channel. But yeah, a very, very cool thing. I do enjoy it thoroughly. I love the addition of this just fun little jetpack thing. The station itself is wonderful. The Orion capsule is very useful and always fun to have. And of course, I mean, it's cool having new rovers and landers. Who wouldn't want that? So if you would like to check out this mod for yourself, which I definitely would suggest that you go and do, you can take a look at the link in the description as per usual. But that is going to be it for today, my friends. So I hope you have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next. But until that time, thank you for watching. And as always, have a good one. I think poor Sherbert here is going to be sick. Later, folks!